Yeah, that's not creepy.
Happy Halloween, everybody. All Hallows Eve.
So, yeah, we're celebrating Halloween. I apologize for the echo. I don't know why it's doing that so much. And tonight we're going to be talking about quite a lot of stuff, actually. The killing fields, which we just visited, and then we're going to go through the places, some of our favorite places we stayed, and some of the cool activity that we've experienced on Halloween night. So Amanda and I are going to kind of share our personal experiences and evidence. So bear with the craziness in the background there. That's just Halloween music playing.
Halloween sounds.
Yeah, Halloween sounds. So Amanda and I just visited what's called the Killing Fields. If you go on to our YouTube channel, you can see it there.
Well, I definitely didn't want to go there in the first place because 30 women were murdered and dumped in that location. It's not something that I normally like to do. It's very sad. It felt like something was there besides spirit.
Yeah,
we just have to watch the video. I don't think I would be going back, but Matt wants to.
Yeah, I mean, when we first got there, I walked over there, left a man in the car just to make sure it was safe. I've heard a lot of stories about this place and was researching it for a couple of years. In fact, it was one of the very first places I ever saw, believe it or not. It just popped up. And everybody said if you can go there overnight, stay overnight in the killing fields, you're pretty damn brave.
I don't think I would go at night.
Yeah, Amanda didn't feel comfortable with that. So we discussed going, and she finally said, okay. So I'm walking through by the graves, and I don't know, it's between the feeling of sadness and anger and frustration. I was just picking up on all the emotions that the women had, I guess you would say. And as we did our spirit box session, of course, and as we did our EVP, well, we got 2 EVPs. These have not been let go publicly yet. We have not published it. But the very first EVP we did, nice sound effects. We got
doing really well with her talk, I do.
Exactly. We got this male voice saying, "Leave my girls alone." And I mean, if I had heard that in real life, I probably would have gone off on whatever was there right then and there. I probably would have walked Amanda to the car and tried to clear it myself. But it was so angry to hear that even after death. I mean, these poor women most of them were their young teens, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. The majority of them were killed in their early teens. And then other, that started before, with the girls that were killed before were in their late 20s, early 30s. And if you don't know anything about the killing fields, essentially they think that there was 5 or 6 serial killers that were essentially all basically dumping the bodies in the same place. It was almost like a ritual murder. And so essentially we went through and the girls basically said, "We don't want to talk to you," whatever. The word demon came out of the spirit box several times. I actually cut it out of the video. I didn't feel like it was necessary to keep in there. And there was some kind of shadowy, cloaked figure that was standing in the woodlines. If you watch the video from our YouTube channel, you can see a shadowy figure, cloaked shadowy figure standing there, and at one point it looks like it has a skull for a face. And I know exactly which demon that is. I've dealt with him before. So, anyways, what were your thoughts on the killing fields, babe?
Well, I definitely thought it was sad and something didn't want us to be there, and I don't intend to go back. And just go watch the video.
Yeah. What was really sad is it kept saying, you need to leave, you need to leave. It's not safe. It's not safe for you here. And again, some of that got pulled out of the actual video. So, anyways, let's talk about some other places. Let's get back to a happy note. Let's talk about some other places that we've been on Halloween night. God, I don't know how many times we stayed at the Queen Mary on Halloween night. So many times.
Well, it's definitely a fun place to stay on Halloween night because there's a lot of people going in and out because they have the Halloween haunt night. And then once it calms down, there's all that energy, in the boat. So you tend to get a lot of activity, EVPs and vacation meter and everything that we use, tend to go off and get infinite.
Yeah, and back then we were actually able to walk the ship at night, and you could go into places, and they didn't care. One guy said, if it's unlocked, you can go in. Engine room,
I don't know if it's like that anymore, to be honest with you.
We got permission to go into the engine room several times. We investigated down there multiple times. And then we stayed in different rooms every time we went there. We've talked about room B340 before, but the picture of that shadow I got down the D deck, as we walked out of there, you walked down the hallway, it just felt like I was being watched. So we got that picture. I love the sound effects here.
Working out well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Hotel del Coronado.
Yeah, that was a cool place. So we actually...
That's in San Diego.
Yeah, we went to San Diego, but I called the day of, and I'm like, is there any way we can get Kate's room? And Kate Morgan committed suicide on the steps down with a aunt. But she said to haunt room, I forget it.
I don't know what the room number is.
3750 or something.
I don't remember.
But, so we stayed in Kate Morgan's room. We left the video camera going, and we went down and had a really nice dinner on the beach, and it was very romantic.
It was very romantic.
Yeah, it was fun. We went and walked on the beach. It was nice, and we came back, and nothing had changed. We had no activity in the room.
Nothing on video, no recording at that time.
Right. The weird thing is, as we kind of settled in for the night, we were about to get in bed, and we hear this loud bang come from the bathroom. It didn't get caught on audio, it didn't get caught on video, but we both heard it, or we both reacted to it. We're like, what the hell was that? But there's no audio or video of it. Strangest thing.
Also in the middle of the night, our covers of the bed got pulled off. So it wasn't like they fell off. It was like a perfect pull, because it was even on both sides of the queen bed. But usually if someone was pulling off the covers, it's one side or the other. No, it was like something pulled the covers right off of us. That's really all we got. We didn't get a whole lot. I thought there would be more. But the ambiance is really cool because they have a bellman, it's like an elevator man, and he's dressed up, and it might just be for Halloween, but he's dressed up like an old-timey bellman with a cap and like a nice suit, and he takes you up and down the elevator. It was really, the ambiance is really cool. So I would recommend, to go to the Hotel Del. And now it's not very cheap. It's very expensive to stay there. Just one night years ago was $300, so who knows what it is now.
Yeah.
It was closer to $400, I think, just one night. And it wasn't a suite or anything like that. It was a regular room.
Yeah. Well, Kate's room's a little more expensive too because it was heavily requested, and somebody had just canceled on them minutes before I called.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Oh my gosh, it was like it was meant to be. It was so strange. I feel bad for the people that got canceled, but still. Okay, so more recent. We've been to the Woodbine Hotel. We did a full-on investigation throughout the night. We had 2 nights actually there. And we're very thankful to Shami, who's the hotel owner, for allowing us to stay and do an investigation there.
I was unable to go that night because I was sick, but it looked like a really good investigation. Yeah. I went on the first investigation that was not Halloween.
Yeah. So Halloween night, we did do some live video on Facebook. We still had quite a bit of chatter come through the spirit box. the intelligent entities, like Ezekiel, came right back through. He was like, hey, when we talked to Danny for a little while, he's the little boy that haunts the bar area, and the little girl, we tried to communicate with her, but I think she laughed, a creepy little laugh, like you just heard a creepy laugh. The guys.
Well, I think the hotel is really haunted. When I was there the first time, not on Halloween, when I was in the bar, there was a light that kept on getting turned off and on the bar table. And it wasn't like a light that was plugged in, it was a battery operated light. So I would ask questions and the light would turn off and on for yes and no. I thought that was a really good part of the investigation.
Yeah, and we know for a fact that light didn't work because we turned it on and off multiple times.
Yeah,
before we started investigating in there, we went in there to try and turn on some of those lights, and we just wanted a little bit of an ambiance. And they would come on. A lot of them would come on, and that one especially would not come on. And so yeah, very, very cool. So that night, my friend Christy and I spent the night, and I woke up about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to the smell of like sugar cookies being baked. It was the coolest smell. I mean, I've experienced smells before, but that was really cool. It was like somebody was downstairs. I even kind of looked downstairs. We had cameras rolling throughout the whole place, and I checked my DVR cameras, and there's nobody in the kitchen. So, and basically, I think we were the only ones there. Maybe the only ones there. But yeah, it was just really cool. All right, so let's move on. San Juan Capistrano. That's one of my old haunts, places I used to do tours. We actually have done a Halloween special. We had a group that wanted to go down there on Halloween night. Mm-hmm. I think Amanda went with us. And we had a lot of activity down there. We investigated that place. We investigated the heck out of that place.
Well, it was a small town, and it was built, what was it, 1800s? It had a mission. Yeah.
It was established in the 1600s.
Mission San Juan Capistrano is right there. They have a really old cemetery, and a lot of the buildings are haunted. One of the things that you can do is you can stay in the old jail, which is now a Mexican restaurant. And you can have dinner down in Old Jail, and that is what we did on Halloween night. And we almost did back in that day. We had friends that like to do seances, so we did a seance in there. I don't remember that. If you remember that, Matt, there was a seance where we tried to get in touch with the spirits in the jail, and I remember like this cold breeze come wafting through. Where it didn't have any open doorways or anything like that, and it kind of like ruffled like the napkins on the table. It was that stiff of a breeze. So that was really interesting to have a seance, really old school, and have something happen.
Yeah.
So if you could get to San Juan Capistrano in California and stay, find Old Jail in the Mexican food restaurant and request that location for dinner, it would be interesting.
Yeah, it's an amazing place. What people don't know is there used to be tunnels from where we were sitting over to the, what was that called? The courthouse. And then there's other tunnels all under San Juan Capistrano too. Because San Juan Capistrano, back during Prohibition, they still were doing beer and stuff like that.
Hard alcohol.
Yeah, hard alcohol.
Tequila.
Yeah, and stuff like that. They were smuggling it in from Mexico, and the town was still drinking, if you will.
They were making money.
Yeah, exactly. The tunnels basically have caved in or been closed off at this point. Another cool location that we've never talked about, I don't know if Amanda remembers this. I think she went with me during the day and kind of walked around this place. But we actually investigated the old monks' barracks.
Oh.
So the mission has walls all the way around it. And outside the walls, basically, is still part of the mission. The whole town is part of the mission. It's all old mission buildings. They rebuilt a lot of the old adobes. They're restoring the town. But this one location, a lady called me and said, hey, this place is haunted. and this is years before we did the tours or anything. And she said, "You got to come check this out." And a friend of mine named Jen and her group also came with us. And this lady was amazing. She was really cool, very into the paranormal. She was an antique dealer, and she had an antique store downtown, and then she had a lot of her antiques in her house too. Oh goodness!
Someone to get murdered behind us. I don't know. It's Halloween special, y'all. This is what's happening.
Yeah, there's nobody actually getting murdered here. I promise you, that I know of. Oh, I hear the creaky door.
You're cracking me up.
And the footsteps.
Ignore it. Continue.
So, anyways, this lady had like a full-size fairy hanging from her ceiling. She had baby doll heads and jars. She was just a cool lady, and we were actually working with her and trying to get a show set up with her and our producer, but unfortunately that never panned out. They didn't want to just focus on her house, and that's what she wanted. So, anyways, yeah, just a cool location. We got an apparition of a soldier, a Civil War soldier, coming through a door. I was actually using not a Ouija board, but an actual. She's Wiccan, so I was using one of the crystals, the pendulums, and she shows me this board. She goes, "Look at this pendulum. You know, pick up the pendulum, and if you hold it over the board, something will move it." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't believe this." And so I've never touched this ever again, by the way. So I pick up the pendulum on me, like swinging it around, going, yeah, I can make this move myself. She goes, "No, but they'll move it for you." And I started laughing, and all of a sudden the damn thing, the whole chain, just went erect, just straight. I couldn't move. I could not move my hands.
It went still.
Yeah, could not move my hand, and so I just held my hand still, and the pendulum just sat there.
That's like the perfect.
And then it basically started spelling. I can't remember what it spelled out, but it spelled something out, and it freaked me out. And I went, "Okay, I'm done with this," and I set it down and I walked away. And the owner's laughing at me. She thought it was funny as hell, but you know, I guess she communicates with them all the time.
You can't even plan this. You were laughing in the background when you said the owner laughed. That's fantastic.
Yeah, whoever's listening to the music, yeah, this is not set up in any way. So another thing that happened was we got a picture. She had a two-story garage. She had a loft above her garage, and so I took a picture of the garage because I thought I saw something at the second story on the roof. And so essentially, I got what looked like an orb, and I know people are going, "Oh, okay, it's an orb, blah blah blah." But no, this was a real weird orb. It looked like the sun almost. And when I zoomed in on it, I kid you not, there was a freaking monk inside of the orb. And so when I went back to sit down to present the evidence to her, of course we had multiple EVPs, we had a couple of full body apparitions. We were sitting outside where actually one of the old walls to the mission was, and and a monk literally ran by. I caught movement out of my left side, and I turned and looked, and I saw him. He was moving though. He was boom. He was gone. It was like a split second, and then he made an L. He went this way and then this way, and disappeared. And she's like, "What did you see?" I explained it to her. She started laughing. She's like, "Yeah, I've seen him too." So just a cool location. Anyways,
I didn't go to that investigation. I couldn't.
She had to work.
Yeah.
So, and that's back in our early days. I think that was like our 10th investigation we ever did into the paranormal. You know, now, I mean, if we have the camera gear, all the equipment we have now that we had back then, holy crap, we could have caught so much more evidence. That place, we could have just left the DVR cameras running for days and days and days and probably picked up so much evidence. So another location that we've been to multiple times, but we actually stayed at during Halloween, was actually Tombstone.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Tombstone a little bit?
Excuse me. That's an alarm. Sorry about that. So Tombstone is cool because that's where all the gunslingers go, and they have to. Matt, continue. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So essentially, Tombstone is an old gold slinger town. Tombstone was very famous for its silver mines, and I love the sound effects. So essentially, the mines essentially create energy under the town, they think. And what happens is that it just gives this energy to the spirits that are still there. There's Boot Hill that's said to be very haunted. There was a picture that was caught out there of a full body apparition. There was Amanda's trying to fix her camera. Bear with us. So essentially, they caught that full body apparition, and then there's been multiple things just caught throughout almost every building in there. As you know, we went and did the what was it called? Oh shoot, I forgot the name of the hotel or the bar now. What was that called?
I don't remember.
In Tombstone.
I don't remember the name of Birdcage.
Birdcage Theater. I'm sorry. I am brain farting here. So the Birdcage Theater, and we basically went in there and walked around. We didn't have any paranormal gear at that time, but we walked around and we didn't really experience a whole lot. But it was a cool experience. And then we stayed in one of the haunted hotels, and I don't know if we had any experiences either. I felt like I was being watched the whole night. Mandy, did you have any experiences?
I thought I saw something out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah.
And then when we were downstairs and where they played poker in the poker room, I thought that I saw something sitting at the table. But then when you glance back, there's nothing there. So you never know.
Right. And so essentially, the KTs were just going nuts the whole night. I mean, we were with a large group, but our K2s just were going nuts. And I tried to tell the tour guide, but she was just trying to do the tour, and so I didn't want to interrupt her and stuff. But
you know what? She was getting irritated because our K2 meter kept going off.
Yeah.
And it kind of took all the glory away from her because she wanted everybody to pay attention to her, which is, of course, that's what they do, as tour guides. But our K2 was all over the place, and it was like something was following me through the whole place. Because no one else, and I took other people's K2s because I thought, oh, maybe my K2 is all messed up. Nope. People kept giving me their K2s that were on the tour, and they would only light up around me.
Yeah. And we, like I said, when we first started that, we walked in and turned the K2 on, and where she was, the tour guide was standing behind the desk, stuff started lighting up for me right away. And then I walked into the theater area, and the K2 starts lighting up like crazy. I mean, lighting up all the way to the fifth light and staying lit for like a split second.
It was crazy.
It was nuts. It kept going, and I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting there trying to debunk, figure out where this EMF is coming from, and I'm like, okay, it's not coming from the wall. It's not coming. It's just
well, they had turned off all the breakers.
Right. It's coming from midair. It's like I could trace out almost like a ball of energy. And this thing, I kept asking question after question after question quietly, and it kept answering my questions by lighting it up for yes and leaving it on one light for no. And this went on for like a half an hour, 45 minutes. And then Amanda, I felt bad, and so I had Amanda, I kind of turned its attention to Amanda, and it just kept going. I mean, I don't know.
It was interesting. If you have a chance to visit Tombstone, go to the Birdcage Theater, take a tour. It doesn't matter if it's like a tour or if you're just walking through it. I think they do both. I think you'll get some evidence for yourself.
Yeah, they have experiences day and night and stuff like that. I heard like footsteps come into the room with us when we first walked into the theater. And the tour guide was not very happy that I kept saying that. I'm like, no, there's somebody walking around out there. And she's like, no, there's nobody out there. I'm like, there's somebody walking around out there. Anyways. All right, so as many of you will know, you guys don't know, we had the opportunity to go out to the old Park Hotel.
Yeah, we talked about it last podcast.
Okay, yeah. So we're still in the very beginning stages of breaking down all that evidence.
There's a lot of evidence because we had so many cameras.
100 hours of video, and I think there's like 5 or 6 hours of audio, which audio is easy to get through, but video, you really have to be focused and paying attention because anything can happen at any time. One thing I noticed about this place, oh my God, we walked in and the first thing I see is a shadow run down the hallway. And then a mist formed at the end of the hallway, and I could have sworn there was an apparition staying at the end.
That place was crazy because not only did it have the shadow people, it had like sounds of walking, vibrations on the floor, smells. We kept smelling like horrible, like death smell. We also smelled like perfume, and it in different areas you would smell it. You know, you have to remember back in the 1800s and where this hotel was built, people didn't shower as much. They wore clothes over and over again. So I think that's what the bad smell was. And then the perfume was really strong. So I think the women wore perfume a lot to cover a lot of that smell. Because it was a bordello.
Right. Well, it was started out as a home, a single family home, 2-story home, which is unheard of for the day. And we'll get into this. We're going to do a special podcast on Old Park Hotel, especially
when we get the video out. Yeah.
Some of the evidence, and like I said, we're still going through it all. But we'll talk about the evidence. We'll talk about more of our personal experiences, and we'll have like a after the show, and we'll talk about everything that we experienced. But like Amanda said, footsteps, shadows, apparitions, the smells. Oh my God!
The smells really tripped me out.
It smelled like somebody pooped their pants and made the.
I said horrible.
Yeah. Too forward about it, but that's what it smelled like. It smelled like somebody.
It was bad. I thought Matt had farted.
Oh my goodness, that was way worse than me farting. So yeah, and then basically, you know, the women back in the day, they would carry a little cloth, a little handkerchief, and they would spray perfume on it and hold it up to their nose so they wouldn't probably have to smell the guys. And back in the day, they did a lot of. They took baths, essentially. They come into these places and bathe and stuff like that, get cleaned up, and then probably go do their thing. But, yeah, just a very interesting place. Seemed like there was a lot of different entities there. The haunted dolls, oh my goodness.
Those dolls were creepy, I'm telling you. I almost think if you watch the Facebook Live that we did, so we did a Facebook Live from the Old Park Hotel, then go back and see the video in the doll room. I feel like the creepy Joker doll that was sitting on the rocking chair, I feel like his feet were in a different direction. So if you watch the Facebook Live, note which way his feet are pointing, and then watch the video where we're in the doll room. And I swear they're pointing the opposite direction.
And that's one of the claims. Dan says that doll especially moves.
That doll's creepy as hell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think this was on the Facebook. We only did about an hour on the Facebook Live. You guys only saw just a little tiny fraction of what we experienced. I mean, the place was crazy.
It was a good place to investigate.
Yeah, I mean,
it's another place that people should go experience for themselves.
Right. So we wrapped it up, and Dan was a very gracious host, and he actually stayed and investigated with us for a little while, which was awesome, because he knows the hotel, they know him, and I felt like we always do this. We always bring our clientele in. It doesn't matter if it's Bigfoot or UFOs or ghosts or whatever. because they're used to having that person around. They're used to being comfortable with whoever's the caretaker or the homeowner
right.
or whatever. So we get a lot better evidence when we have them there. And so he was gracious enough to stay with us for a couple hours and take his time to investigate with us and give us some of his expertise about what's happened in the hotel. And he's a very seasoned professional investigator himself.
Has a lot of history as well because he owns that house. He did a lot of research.
Yeah, he's done hours and hours of research, which is what you have to do. I mean, I always say, know your location. You have to know your location. You have to know who's there. And there's supposedly like 32 spirits that reside there. I believe that. But, and then there's the haunted, I think there's 7 haunted dolls, or maybe more. And so essentially, yeah, I mean, we put the spirit box down, and this is not on video. You guys have not seen this at all on live feed or anything. We set the video camera, we set the audio recorder down next to the spirit box. I'm hoping we caught this. And I accidentally set the spirit box next to one of the haunted dolls. And immediately, that thing started spitting out every last thing in the whole wide world. I mean, it was just like nonstop talk. I'm going to poke him, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, whoa, what the hell? And when I picked it back up into my hands and moved away from that doll, it stopped talking, which was interesting. I should have just probably left it there. We should have put it through in front of every single haunted doll just to see what it would say. But
maybe next time.
Yeah, unfortunately, we only had like 24 hours in the hotel, which really was not enough time. I mean, I don't think it would even scratch the surface of this place. I mean, we had 10 DVR cameras up. We had so many cameras, we actually used our old Sony Handycams, which we never use anymore.
Well, we wanted to get all the rooms. It's 10,000 square feet.
And there's like 30 or 40 rooms. So, I mean, and then the hallways, upstairs and downstairs hallway. I can't wait to review that video. We left, yeah, that's kind of how it was. So, we left Ian pumps out all night long in those hallways, so I'm really interested to see in that ball. They left the little ball for the kids in the middle of the hallway as well. And what's really cool is Dan's taking the time to make a tape square, and he put the ball right there. And if it moves, which he said it's moved before, then you've got something interesting because there's no air conditioning down there. It doesn't blow. We didn't have any air conditioning on that night because it's nice and comfortable.
Yeah, it was in the 60s.
Yeah, it was really nice. It wasn't hot in the hotel at all. It was perfect. So, yeah, I mean, if you get the chance to go out to the Old Park Hotel and see Dan or his wife, I mean, they're just amazing people. Really wish we could have gone out and done the haunted hotel with them. But unfortunately, we didn't get to do that this year. So
they have a scare hotel.
Yeah, they set it up where it's like a haunted maze.
And they make money to keep the hotel alive.
Yeah.
So that's next year I want to go.
Yeah. So
I love those scary hotel things.
Yeah, everything they make from the ghost investigations and the haunted house tours and stuff like that all goes back into the hotel, which is amazing. They've done a really good job restoring it, putting it back together, and bringing in all kinds of cool old artifacts and stuff like that. They've just done a beautiful job with that hotel. I mean, I have nothing but positive things to say. I'm looking forward to breaking down the evidence, continuing to break down the evidence. I've been watching the live stream, and I mean, it's taken me forever because there's so many crazy things I keep seeing, and I keep having to stop myself and go back and review it and stuff. So, anyways, guys, I hope you guys had a great Halloween. We really appreciate you listening, and we're going to wrap this up. But you guys stay haunted, and
keep it real.
yeah, and essentially we'll talk to you on the next one.
All right, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.